Let's go, baby! Jake Muzzin! So if you couldn't tell by that start there, I'm a little excited for this one. The Toronto Maple Leafs have acquired Jake Muzzin in a trade from the LA Kings. In exchange for Jake Muzzin, Toronto sends over their 2019 first-round pick, Carl Grunstrom, and Durzi. So I'm shooting this video a day after the trade happened, and I'll be honest, I'm super glad I had time to sleep on this trade, because when I originally saw it, I was kind of freaking out a little bit. I got the notification on my phone from the Leafs PR on Twitter saying that they made this trade, and I'm reading it, and instantly I just freak out, oh my god, the Leafs got Jake Muzzin! But then on the other side of the article, I read they gave up Carl Grunstrom and Durzi and a first-round pick. There's a lot of ands in there. So originally, I was kind of flabbergasted. I was really running my mouth about it. I wasn't confused. I was more, I'd say, shocked and just kind of trying to work out the inner process and everything. And they have too many people on the roster right now, so someone's getting waived or traded. This isn't the last move for sure. But no, I'm really glad I had the time to think about this trade because, wow, do I think this is a fantastic trade for the Leafs. Might come back and bite them, say 5 years down the road, but right now it's just awesome for him. So, who is Jake Muzzin? 29 years old, turns 30 at the end of the month. 21 points in 50 games so far with the LA Kings, which isn't great, but not bad by any means. In 3 of his last 4 seasons, he's got 40 points. He's an absolute wrecking ball on the back end and has the ability to just kill some people. He's an offensive-minded defenseman. He really likes to move the puck, and he's well at it, but he's not one-dimensional that way. He plays a very sound game in his own end, which is something the Leafs desperately need right now. And the best thing of all is he is on a sweetheart contract at $4 million for the end of this season and next season too. Not only are they going in, they're going all in this year and next year. They got 2 runs out of him. Kind of comparable to the McDonough deal where they get a year and a half of a great defenseman and they're ultimately going in on it. Now, Muzzin is a left-handed defenseman, but we do know that Morgan Rielly can play on the right side. Ron Hainsey should be dropping down in the lineup. I'm really interested to see how Mike Babcock actually utilizes Jake Muzzin. We know Mike Babcock can be a little screw with his lineups. However, we do know this is a player that Mike Babcock trusts, as Babcock coached him at the World Cup of Hockey just a few years back when Muzzin represented Team Canada. So the amount of different possibilities on that defense is pretty crazy right now. You gotta hope that Hainsey drops down. Maybe play him with Dermott on the third pairing. Keep Gardner Zaitsev up there. Maybe even Gardner Dermott. Hell, why don't you put Rielly and Gardner together? They've played great, but this is just me talking all this kind of stuff now. Aren't these great conversations to have? The Leafs, they have a defenseman. Muzzin comes in and instantly becomes, if not the best, probably the second best, arguably the third best defenseman on the team. So if you can't tell, I'm very excited to have Muzzin on this team for not only this year, but next year too. The 2 runs is what I really like about it. And at $4 million, gimme. Now let's get into what the Leafs gave up in order to get this, which is quite a bit, but not as bad as you'd think right when you see it. Like I said, I was originally pretty shocked that they had to give up that much to get Jake Muzzin, but when you look at it as a whole, Toronto kept what they wanted to keep. You may recall actually just a couple of videos ago, I brought up this exact scenario in trading for a defenseman but not wanting to give up any of your good prospects. I mentioned guys like Sandin, Liljegren, Bracco. You got guys like Kapanen and Johnsson who you don't want to trade. And the Leafs acquired one of the best available defensemen without giving up any of those guys. Sure, they gave up a first-round pick, but that's probably going to be a low first, probably about 25 to even maybe 30th. So that's not one I'm too upset with giving up. So ultimately, yeah, you made an awesome deal. You kept all your best prospects, to be honest, but you did lose a couple B-grade prospects who could come back to bite you. Carl Grunstrom is a player I was really looking forward to moving up in this organization. He came over from the Swedish Elite League last year in the Marlies playoff run and dominated in the playoffs, helping the Marlies to a Calder Cup actually. He's now playing in the AHL in his first full season and he's putting up great numbers. Not the same kind of dominance as he showed last year in the playoffs, but still an exceptional young player. It's not a matter of if he's going to make the NHL, it's when he's going to make the NHL. Honestly, if the Kings wanted to, he could be playing games in the NHL this week. Great young player in Grunstrom, tough losing him, but it's not a Kapanen or a Johnsson. Moving over to Durzi, man, I feel so bad for Durzi. That dude is such a big Leafs fan. He was so stoked to get drafted by his favorite team, and they traded him. I mean, it is business, but you can't help but feel for the kid. Sean Durzi is kind of interesting. He wasn't actually drafted in his draft year. He was drafted as an overager last year in the second round by the Leafs. But he has made some incredible strides in the last 2 years, and he looks like he'll be an NHL-ready defenseman. He's absolutely tearing it up in the OHL this year, playing for Guelph, doing fantastic. I expect him to be a great player in years to come. Might not be as proven as Grunstrom just because he's not as old, but I wouldn't sleep on Sean Durzi either. And the first round pick, who knows what that could be? It could literally be anything. Who even knows what the pick is going to be yet? We don't even know what number it is. I expect a high 20s pick, but you never know. We'll come back to that one in about a year or two and see what it looks like. So at the end of the day, 5 years down the road, we might look back on this trade and say, man, what the hell were the Leafs doing giving up Grunstrom and Durzi and the first who turned out to be this person? But you know what? Until then, I absolutely love this trade for the Leafs. It addresses one of their biggest needs, which isn't necessarily their defense, but rather not letting Ron Hainsey play over 20 minutes a night. The dude is 37 years old, give him a couple nights off, he doesn't have to play a full 82, especially when you got guys in the lineup like Justin Hull and Martin Marincin who can come in and give him some relief. So in recap, Leafs acquire a top 4 defenseman without giving up any of their best prospects or anyone on their active roster. That, in my books, is an exceptional trade. And you know, a good trade for the Kings, too. They're getting some great prospects, first-round pick, and a guy who they probably weren't going to be able to re-sign when his contract was up anyways. I cannot wait for Muzzin's first game as a Leaf. The biggest thing I'm excited for? The hits. I miss the big hits. Borgman was awesome for laying people out. Anyways, I think that's about all I have to say about that. Super stoked on the trade. Can't wait for the Leafs bye week to be done so I can see Muzzin put on the jersey. And super excited to see how he performs. I'm really happy with the trade. Let me know what you think of the trade down below in the comments section. Drop a like if you liked the video. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of In My Honest Opinion with Radiuk. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.